You know, secret societies always kind of get my imagination going. It's like those old movies with the hidden libraries and the symbols carved into the walls, And these excerpts from Mystic Masonry, this J.D. Buck back in 1911, he was onto something. This whole idea that Freemasonry, it's not just like a social club, it's like this lineage of ancient wisdom passed down for generations. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, it makes you think, right? Like across history, it doesn't matter what culture, what time period, people are always drawn to this idea of secrets, hidden knowledge, like the mystery schools in Egypt, even the Pythagoreans in Greece. It's like this basic human need to dig deeper, find the truth that's hidden beneath the surface.
Totally. It's like we're hardwired to look for those missing pieces, those clues to a bigger puzzle. And Buck, he really drives this point home, saying this knowledge, it wasn't meant to disappear. It was meant for specific people, like initiates who would guard it, pass it on. It was practically sacred.
Exactly. And that's where things get really interesting because Buck talks about this universal language of symbols. He's saying these symbols, they weren't just for decoration, they were tools. Tools to share these big, complex ideas about philosophy, about spirituality, in a way that transcended language, transcended cultures even.
A universal language of symbols. Okay, now I got no more. How does that even work? I mean, how can a symbol really carry that much meaning, that much depth?
Imagine this. You're trying to explain, I don't know, something really complicated, like a scientific concept, but the other person doesn't speak your language. What do? You start using diagrams, maybe you draw pictures, you use your hands, right? You find a way to get the idea across, and that's kind of what these ancient symbols were doing. They were a way to communicate these really profound truths in a way that could be understood across time and cultures.
So it's like they weren't just pretty pictures, they were more like keys to unlock these deeper levels of understanding.
Exactly. And there's no better example of this than the whole idea of the lost word in Masonry.
Hmm.
Most people, they hear that and they think it's literally a word that's been lost, like misplaced or something. But it goes way deeper than that. The lost word, it's not something you just find in some old book. It's symbolic.
Okay, now you've got me. Symbolic of what?
It represents this idea that at some point, humanity, we lost our way. We lost touch with this deeper understanding of ourselves, of the universe. The lost word, it's about yearning for that lost wisdom and the potential to find it again, but not just by reading about it, by transforming ourselves. That's a huge part of Masonic teachings.
It's like we're all on this quest, trying to rediscover these truths that are buried deep inside us.
And those symbols, they're like the signs along the way. You take the square and the compass, for example.
Yeah.
Those are like the symbols of Freemasonry. Buck has a really interesting take on what those tools actually represent.
Yeah, you can't think of Freemasons without picturing the square and compass, right? So what's the deeper meaning there, according to Buck?
Well, he says, the square, with its straight lines and perfect angles, it represents the material world, the physical world, the limitations, the structures, all those rules that kind of govern our everyday existence. It's like the foundation that everything else is built on.
So it's about reality as we experience it, the concrete, tangible stuff.
Right. Now, the compass, on the other hand, it draws circles, right? And the circle, it's always been a symbol of eternity, of the infinite, of the spirit. So the compass represents that spiritual side, the boundless potential inside each of us.
So you've got the earthly and the divine, the limited and the unlimited, all represented by these two simple tools.
And the really cool part is where they intersect. That point where the square and compass meet, that's where things get really interesting. Because that intersection, that point of balance, it represents the Mason's journey. They start as this rough, unshaped apprentice, and through this process, they become a master Mason. All that wisdom, that mastery, it's symbolized right there in that intersection.
So it's not about choosing one over the other, the spiritual or the material. It's about finding that sweet spot, that balance.
That's it. It's realizing that both sides are crucial. The square keeps you grounded, keeps you honest about the realities of the world, but that compass, it's there to remind you that there's always more, always something beyond what you can see.
It's like a dance, right? Between those two forces, trying to find that harmony. But how do you actually achieve that? I mean, what does it take to actually walk that path to mastery?
That's where Buck's insights on the secret doctrine come in. And it gets really fascinating. Because it's not just about the symbols, the outward rituals, it's about what happens inside you. That inner transformation is key.
The secret doctrine, okay, you've mentioned it a few times now. What is it exactly, and how does it connect to this idea of personal transformation, this journey we're talking about?
Think of it this way. The secret doctrine, it's like this huge, complex system of philosophy. And it draws from all these different ancient traditions, suggesting that beneath all the different religions, all the spiritual practices, there's this core of wisdom that connects them all. And at the heart of it is this idea, the universe, it moves in cycles, and everything is interconnected. There's this underlying unity that binds it all.
Okay, that makes sense. But how does that play into this personal journey, this becoming a master that we were talking about?
Well, the secret doctrine describes these 7 planes of existence. And it's not like physical places, but more like states of consciousness, like levels of being that our souls are moving through, lifetime after lifetime.
7 planes. So it's like we're all in this cosmic video game and we're all trying to level up. Although I gotta say, I'm still stuck on the level where I need to work on my patience.
That's a great way to put it. And just like a video game, each level has its own challenges, its own opportunities to grow. And that's where the personal transformation comes in.
So it's not just about knowing stuff, it's about actively working on yourself, right?
Right.
Refining your character, pushing yourself to reach those higher levels.
Exactly. The secret doctrine stresses that self-mastery is key. Conquering your desires, letting go of those things that are holding you back. That's how you reach enlightenment. It's about shedding those old patterns, the limiting beliefs, and becoming the best, most evolved version of yourself.
That makes a lot of sense. But how does Freemasonry fit into all of this? Where's the connection to this secret doctrine?
That's where things get really interesting. See, Buck believed that the journey a Mason takes, all those symbolic steps and rituals, it actually mirrors the soul's evolution that's described in the secret doctrine.
Okay, yeah, I see it. The stages of development, the challenges, this idea of reaching a higher state. It's almost like Freemasonry. It's like a practical guide, like how to take those big ideas from the secret doctrine and actually live them out in your own life. What do you think?
That's a great way to put it. It's like you have the secret doctrine as this big cosmic blueprint, right? This expansive view of everything. And then Masonry comes along with its rituals, its symbols, all those levels of initiation. And it's like it gives you a path, a set of practices that help you make sense of that huge cosmic view and actually, start walking the path yourself.
Okay, so you've got the map, you've got the compass, but you still got to know how to use them, right?
Yeah.
So how do you actually apply all this? Like practically, what does Buck say about that?
He talks about this idea of the master's mark. And this is where it gets really interesting because he says true mastery, it's not about showing off how powerful you are or what you've achieved. It's about something that transforms you from the inside out.
So it's not like a badge you wear or a secret handshake or anything. So what is the master's mark then?
Think about it this way for a second.
Yeah.
What if we're not just physical beings, right?
Yeah.
What if we're also made of energy? This is an idea that a lot of ancient traditions talk about. And what Burke is saying is that as we work on ourselves, as we develop those inner qualities, compassion, wisdom, integrity, we're actually refining that energy. It's like, taking a rough stone and polishing it until it shines.
So it's like you become this walking, talking example of those virtues. You give off this energy that people can feel.
Exactly. And that's the manager's mark. It's this aura, this presence you have that draws people in, not because you're forcing them, but just because of who you are, the wisdom you embody.
That's a powerful image, I gotta say, to have that kind of inner strength. But if it's all internal, how does it affect anything out in the world? It all seems a little, I don't know, abstract, I guess.
Okay, think of it this way. Imagine you drop a pebble in a pond. What happens? You get those ripples, right? And those ripples, they spread out. They affect the whole pond. It's the same thing with this inner transformation. When you change on the inside, it has these ripple effects outward. It affects the people you interact with, your community, even the world in a way.
So it's not about making some big splashy display. It's about focusing on yourself and trusting that those changes, even small ones, they'll have a ripple effect.
That's the beauty of it. And what's really interesting is that Buck doesn't just leave it at that. He actually calls on people to become, and this is his phrase, soldiers of the truth.
Soldiers of the truth. Whoa, okay. That's pretty intense. What's he getting at there?
He's saying that this search for knowledge, this journey of self-mastery, it's not just some intellectual game. It's active. It's a battle even. A battle against your own limitations, those things that hold you back.
So like those lower impulses we were talking about, the selfishness, the greed, all that stuff that keeps us from reaching our potential.
Exactly. And he's saying by fighting that battle within yourself, by trying to live by those higher principles, you become an agent of change in the world.
It's like Buck's saying that by changing yourself, you contribute to changing the world around you. And by tapping into this ancient wisdom, we can help create a society that's more just, more enlightened. That's a powerful message. I gotta be honest, this is a lot to take in. Secret societies, ancient wisdom, evolution of the soul. It's a lot. Pretty esoteric, wouldn't you say?
It is, but at the same time, there's something about these ideas, they feel timeless,
Yeah.
you know? Like they still speak to us, even today in this modern world surrounded by technology. Don't you think?
For sure. But I bet some of our listeners are thinking, okay, this is all fascinating, but how does it apply to my life right now in the 21st century? What can I actually take away from all this, even if I'm not a Freemason or some kind of expert in this stuff? That's the million-dollar question, right? We can talk about secret societies and ancient wisdom all day, but how do we actually bring it down to earth, make it relevant to our lives?
Well, Buck himself seems to wrestle with that question. And I think what he's getting at is this. We shouldn't take these teachings too literally. It's not like they're like step-by-step instructions from some ancient manual. Instead, they give us a new way to see things, some principles to help us figure out our own path.
It's like taking that ancient wisdom and using it to deal with the stuff we face today in our own lives.
That's it. Take the master's mark, for example.
Yeah.
That idea of developing your inner strength,
Mhm.
becoming someone who radiates those positive qualities. Anyone can do that. It's not just for Freemasons.
It's about realizing that real power, it doesn't come from bossing people around or having a fancy title. It comes from who you are deep down. Your integrity, your compassion, those are the things that matter.
And those qualities, they have a way of spreading. They
Wow.
change the way you interact with people, the way you move through the world.
It's like they say, be the change you want to see. It starts with you.
Exactly. And even though Buck talks about soldiers of the truth, I think the message is for everyone. We've all got a responsibility to be better, to take what we know and make a positive impact.
It's like remembering that we're all connected, part of something bigger, and that even the little things, those acts of kindness or courage, they can make a difference.
They really can. And that's what I think is so powerful about Mystic Masonry. It's not just about the secrets, it's about this invitation. An invitation to look inside yourself, to explore those mysteries within, and to become a part of something bigger than yourself.
To tap into that master that's inside each of us.
Yes, it's about realizing that the real mysteries, they're not locked away in some vault. They're within us, waiting to be discovered. And when we start that inner journey, who knows? We might just find the keys to a better future for ourselves and everyone else.
This has been an incredible deep dive. Thanks to your insights, we haven't just scratched the surface of these symbols. We've really gone deep into what it means to live a life of wisdom, of purpose, a life that makes a difference.
The journey's not over, though, is it? But hopefully we've got some new tools, some new perspectives to help us along the way. And remember, we've each got our own inner light to guide us.
And who knows what other mysteries are out there waiting to be uncovered if we keep our minds open and our hearts curious.
The possibilities are truly endless.